The large expanse of the Grand Canyon is home to many mysteries that have kept tourists hooked for years. But a discovery made at the Grand Canyon has shocked the whole world, as it challenges everything we know about the history of human civilization. The Grand Canyon offers one of the most breathtaking views in northern Arizona, with a landscape marked by millions of years of erosion by the Colorado River. The canyon is not just a pretty sight for tourists to click pictures, but holds many years of human history in its layers and layers of sediments. The Hopi Navajo, Zuni Apache, and several other tribes have lived in the Grand Canyon for several thousand years. According to Hopi mythology, the canyon was inhabited by a reptilian race thousands of years ago. Legend says that lizard people were actually shapeshifters who changed into humans, but that's not all. Some tribes believe the canyon was home to giants, a race rumored to have lived in different parts of the western United States. However, these stories have been carried down through generations, and we've yet to discover whether they are true or fanciful imagination. But there's one story that stands out from all the others, and it is pretty recent compared to the legends. Are you ready to find a truth that has been vehemently covered up? The discovery will leave you shocked. So, brace yourself. This story began in 1909, when a bizarre story was printed on the front page of the Arizona Gazette. According to the article, archaeologist G.E. Kincaid and Professor S.A. Jordan had discovered a series of mysterious caves and artifacts in the Grand Canyon, hinting at ancient Egyptians. Surprised? Everyone in America was. How could it be possible for an ancient Egyptian civilization to inhabit the Grand Canyon, a location in North America almost 12,000 kilometers away from home? And not to forget, most of the distance is covered by the Atlantic Ocean. While the probability of such a thing being true seems slim, the evidence found in the Grand Canyon suggests otherwise. The only problem is, no one wants to admit the evidence was ever found. If you thought cover-ups only applied to conspiracy theories, you're in for a surprise. In 1908, President Teddy Roosevelt wanted to turn the Grand Canyon into a national park and suspended all timber and mining operations indefinitely. Seeing this as his final chance, explorer Kincaid took a boat down the Colorado River in search of gold, copper, and silver mineral deposits. Around 40 miles upriver from the El Tovar Crystal Canyon, Kincaid came across stains in the sediment formation almost 2,000 feet up. Curious to explore what he had found, he got off and tied his boat. Initially, he couldn't see anything peculiar until he found hundreds of steps leading up to a high shelf in the side of the canyon. Excited by what lay ahead, Kincaid climbed the carved steps, only to find a cavern entrance that clearly looked man-made. He switched on his flashlight as he entered the cavity, but wasn't prepared for what he found on the walls. Get ready, because this is where things get very interesting. Naturally, Kincaid expected to find traces of Native Americans in the man-made chamber, but the walls were filled with ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. As he slowly walked deeper into the cavity, he realized he was walking in a passageway almost 12 feet wide. About 57 feet from the entrance, Kincaid saw the passageway opening into side passages on the right and left. Both sides had rooms the size of ordinary living rooms. By this time, Kincaid had realized he was in a huge complex, large enough to house as many as 50,000 people. The complex included several cooking areas and a huge dining room full of ancient artifacts. He carefully wrapped a few metal and ceramic objects to study later. Kincaid also came across a massive room that looked like an area used for metalwork, but the most exciting part was the copper tools he found there. Apparently, this old civilization had figured out the lost art of hardening this metal. As he continued exploring the underground complex, Kincaid found a rather large room with shelves of mummies. Overwhelmed by the enormity of what he had discovered, Kincaid knew he couldn't continue this exploration alone anymore. It was time to bring backup. Kincaid sent the artifacts he had recovered from the complex to the Smithsonian, along with a detailed report of what he had seen inside. Can you imagine the excitement of fellow researchers for discovering something so unexpected and unique in the heart of the Grand Canyon? Just a week after Kincaid returned, Professor S.A. Jordan and a team of 40 scientists set out to explore the hidden complex. Equipped with enough lights to illuminate the passages, the researchers saw the complex in its full glory. Wait till you hear what they saw. The layout of the entire complex wasn't random, but a symmetrical design that led to a central chamber. Here, the scientists found a large statue of a godlike being sitting cross-legged with a lotus flower or lily in each hand. The statue looked like Buddha, but scientists weren't sure, so they left it up to speculation. The complex, which Kincaid's team called the Citadel, had several large rooms, one of which was the crypt, where Kincaid had initially seen numerous mummies. This time, Kincaid could see every detail of this mysterious room. The walls slant back at an angle of about 35 degrees. On these are tiers of mummies, each one occupying a separate hewn shelf. At the head of each is a small bench, on which is found copper cups and pieces of broken swords. Some of the mummies are covered with clay, and all are wrapped in a bark fabric. Who could have imagined finding Egyptian-style mummies in the Grand Canyon? The team found hundreds of rooms, barracks, granaries, metalworking shops, temples, and many living quarters during their exploration. There were thousands of untouched artifacts, including swords and shields made of copper, bronze, and a grey-coloured metal the scientists could not identify. They even found pottery urns, cooking utensils, small yellow stones called cat's eyes, and massive stone tablets engraved with hieroglyphs. Jordan's team concluded that the entire cave complex must have housed thousands of men, women, and children. The complex engineering and architecture of the Citadel proved that it was the work of a much more advanced civilization than the native tribes who lived in the area for thousands of years. The lost civilization knew how to work bronze many years before the Bronze Age even began. From the division of labor to the cultivation of crops, these people functioned like a modern society. Do you understand what this means for our history lessons? It means everything we've been taught in mainstream archaeology and anthropology is a lie. Coming back to the discovery made by Kincaid and Professor Jordan, the research team sent boxes of artifacts and books full of notes and drawings to the Smithsonian. You must be thinking the proposed hypothesis created headlines around the world. But unfortunately, what happened next will make you question the authorities. Kincaid and Jordan suggested to the Smithsonian that this lost civilization originated somehow in Egypt or Asia, and they needed more resources and a larger team to investigate the Citadel further. However, their request was denied, and the world never heard from Kincaid or Jordan again. And this was just the beginning of the cover-up. The area where the Citadel was discovered became restricted for tourists and other researchers, and it remains inaccessible to date. Even the airspace surrounding the cave is restricted. All official Smithsonian and other reports were either censored, modified, nullified, or retracted. Can you guess why? Interestingly, this wasn't the first time someone discovered traces of ancient Egyptians in the Grand Canyon. The first American archaeologist to explore the Grand Canyon in 1869 was John Wesley Powell, and he too found Egyptian caves and tunnel cities in the area. His team also discovered a shrine in one of the caves for Smenkhare, an Egyptian king who began his reign in 1336 BC, but died 10 years into his rule. Here's another shocking fact you probably didn't know. The Grand Canyon's monuments are all named after Egyptian pharaohs, and if that evidence wasn't enough, the sites even align with the same stars that the Giza pyramids do, the constellations Orion and Pleiades. Now the question arises, why are the authorities so hell-bent on denying the presence of an ancient Egyptian civilization in the Grand Canyon? Is it because this fact somehow undermines the authority of Americans over their own soil? Or could it be because archaeologists are afraid this secret may raise questions they haven't found the answers to yet? That's all for today, folks. Thanks for joining us on this exciting journey across the Grand Canyon. Remember to like the video, subscribe to our channel, and press the notification bell for more eye-opening facts. Until next time, keep exploring.